Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Double Play Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about our June awards since it's now July. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Alrighty, it's July. That means two things. First of all, Stranger Things Volume 2 came out. And second of all, we have to go over our June monthly awards. Luckily for you guys, we've already watched Stranger Things, so that means next order of business, we're going to bring you our awards. Players of the month, pitchers of the month, surprises of the month, rookies of the month for the month of June in MLB. Ryan, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a spoiler-free zone. We won't say anything about it, but if you haven't watched it, you should. But yeah, I'm excited. July, we're in the thick of the season now. It's where races start to heat up, MVP division races. And it's just what baseball's about this July, August months all into October. So I'm excited for some more baseball.
Before we get to the baseball, I'll bet you're pretty grateful that I pushed you to watch Stranger Things. And then I told you that you should watch it. Because you were like, I don't really know. And then I get a text from him that when he got sick, he watched like all the 3 seasons in a couple days and then watched season 4.
Yeah, but I hadn't watched it because of what you said. I kind of just picked it up.
Well, that was after. It was like 3 days after I told you have to watch it.
I don't remember when it was. I don't remember our timeline. But yeah, I did watch it late. But it's a great show.
It's a great show. It was a great season as well, and we're in the thick of, like you said, a great MLB season. And this month, there are players on this list that you wouldn't expect to come up and seize these Player of the Month awards. And then also our Team of the Month is like one or two stars on it, and the rest of the guys are guys who are middling players or people that you wouldn't expect to be on the Team of the Month. After you listen to this episode, go to our socials, check out our full Team of the Month. But as I mentioned in this episode, this is just our monthly awards for the month of June. We do Player of the Month, Rookie of the Month, Pitcher of the Month, and Surprise of the Month for each of the 2 leagues. So we'll do NL Player of the Month, AL Player of the Month, and then go down the list. Former winners, Paul Goldschmidt. We've had Carlos Rodon, Pablo Lopez when they were pitching very well in the first month of the season, and this is our 3rd month so far. Do you want to start us off with your National League Player of the Month, or do you have something else you want to talk about first?
Let's get into it. National League Player of the Month. It's Josh Bell. 204 WRC plus this month, or last month, I should say, but insane. 1.6 WAR in the month alone, slashing 358, 447, and 695. Top of the NL in on-base percentage and slugging percentage, which means he also has the highest OPS as well. So, I mean, he had a ridiculous month in here in this one.
Yeah, and I feel pretty good for the Nationals at this point. Like, they have another player to solidify that lineup, and hats off to Josh Bell. He had that crazy first half with the Pirates a couple years ago, and then after that, I think people started to fall off the Josh Bell train. That second half was really tough for him, and people were starting to question whether he could be, an average or even above average starting first baseman. And here, he's the best player in the National League this month, I think, no question. Anytime you see a WRC plus starting with a 2, you're in very, very good company. And 1.6 WAR in a month when you're slashing 695 as a slugging percentage, 447 on base in that offense that, as we mentioned it for Juan Soto all the time, has no protection. It doesn't have many other good pieces in it. I'm excited for Josh Bell. Happy he's able to kind of right the ship after a down year or 2, and I think he's really another formidable bat in that Nationals lineup.
Yeah, you mentioned the protection, something I wanted to talk about. For Juan Soto, his numbers have been up this month as well. Not enough to be a Player of the Month, but it's kind of because of what Josh Bell has done this month. He's putting in some ridiculous stats, and now teams kind of have to pitch a little bit more to Juan Soto because they know Josh Bell's in the lineup too. So he's had a great month. He's got a sweet swing from both sides of the plate. A lot of power too. So he's fun to watch, and I would say he's an above average third baseman, at least compared to league average first baseman wise.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and he's had a more than above average month. He didn't quite crack our all-star teams. That was our last episode we recorded. You can go check that out after this one. But if he keeps playing at this level for the year, he's going to go down as one of the better first basemen in the entire National League and in the entirety of the MLB. You mentioned Juan Soto. I saw something this week. His WRC plus at this point in the season last year was 129, and right now it's at 130. And Ronald Acuna Jr. is the number 1 vote getter for the All-Star game and is an immediate starter. His WRC plus is only 3 points higher than Juan Soto at this point in the year. And also keep in mind, in the second half last year, that Nationals offense lost Trey Turner, who was easily the second best hitter in that lineup. So Juan Soto, I think, hold your cards. We've said all year, even though the stats aren't as blow you away as past years, he's still one of the best hitters in baseball. And I think that we're going to see him surge again in the second half like we did last year.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, he's a star. He'll bounce back. And I want to say bounce back, but he's, like you said, he's still doing great. I mean, the only really thing that's down is the batting average, and that's kind of because of the lack of protection. And like his on base percentage is still near 400. So, I mean, he's getting a lot of walks, and it's because, if you don't understand, it's the pitchers can afford to pitch around him. So a lot of the stuff will be like pinpoint on the corners, which is like trying to induce soft contact. And so that's why he's lower average. He's getting softer contact because he's not pitching to. But I mean, that's why the batting average is down. But WRC plus is still there, so he's still making damage. He's still getting on base. So Juan Soto, and we know that average will, with some more protection, the average will get back to normal. What we know from Juan Soto. But that, yeah, Josh Bell, back to him. Great month, and he deserves this.
Yeah, from one heavy hitter to another one. This was, for me, an undisputed player of the month in the American League, and it's Yordan Alvarez. We mentioned if your WRC Plus starts with a 2, you're in pretty good company. How about a 277 for Yordan Alvarez? He's the DH for the Houston Astros. I think everyone knows that, but 277 WRC Plus. I think the next best in the American League this month was like in the 180s, 190s. Yordan, here's his slash line. 418, that's a batting average on base. 510 on base. 835 slugging, giving him a 553 WOBA. He had 9 home runs and had 2.1 WAR while being a designated hitter where WAR isn't accumulated all that often. I'm struggling to think if I've ever seen a month where a hitter has been that good, and they're probably, I could count them on one hand. Like, Yordan Alvarez had one heck of a month, and he's my AL player of the month for sure.
So it was hard. I did have to go against Juan Soto, or not once, Yordan Alvarez, because we've got pitcher of the month, but it's not hitter of the month, it's player of the month. So I had to go Shohei, who did it on both sides of the ball. Pitching wise, he went 4-1 with a 29.2 innings pitched, 1.52 ERA, 0.9 WAR, just on the hill, and 11.53 Ks per 9 with a 97% left on base percentage. And hitting-wise, he slashed 298, 398, and 574 slugging with a 169 WRC plus, 6 bombs, and another 0.9 WAR from the hitting side. So it's like not good enough to be pitcher of the month or hitter of the month, but we're doing player, which who's the best player, and I think the best player was Shohei this month.
Let's jump ahead a little bit and skip over our notes a tiny bit to AL pitcher of the month. This one I gave to Shohei Ohtani, and my rationale, this was kind of my cheating way to recognize both him and Yordan, because, if it was maybe, one of the regular months we've had in the AL where we gave it to, Devers or Jose Ramirez or Aaron Judge, and it was not as dominant as Yordan had been, I'd be fine giving Shohei player of the month. But even with how valuable he still was a couple points of WAR behind Yordan Alvarez, who just had that good of a hitting month. So I said, what pitcher hits like Shohei Ohtani? And there's really no one. And he pitched like one of the best pitchers in the American League anyways. He was, like you mentioned, 4-1, 29.2 innings. So it's not like he's throwing less innings than other guys that could be in contention. That 11.53 K per 9, the 9.9 WAR on the mound. The crazy thing that stuck out to me, 97% left on base. That's a stat that absolutely stuck out to me, which means that 97% of the people that got on base against Shohei do not score in this month. He hit amazing as well. 574 slugging, 398 on base, 6 home runs, another 0.9 WAR. My rationale is he pitched among the tops of any of the American League pitchers, and I guarantee you there were no American League pitchers that hit as well as Shohei did this month. So I gave him pitcher of the month just because I wanted to find a spot for him somewhere. I'm going to give a shout out to Dylan Cease and Justin Verlander, though. They were right up there for me, but I just couldn't leave Shohei off of this month's awards, and that was my AL pitcher of the month. I don't fault you, though, for putting him as player of the month, because what player does both those things that well in a given month?
Yeah, Shohei, we've kind of come to expect this from the hitting side, and even hitting wise, he had a great month. Obviously not as good as Yordan, but what really stuck out is the pitching. Like, we've seen flashes of his stuff having good starts, but he put together an amazing month pitching-wise. And it's crazy to think that, I mean, what Shohei's doing is, I don't know, maybe not as good of a hitter as last year, but a far better pitcher than last year. And, I mean, he's in the conversation for MVP, but he's not among the top 2 or 3 there. So I mean, it's ridiculous. And I said at the beginning of the year, for Shohei to win MVP again, I think he is the most valuable player in Major League Baseball. And I don't really think it's that close between anyone else. But I think for him to win consecutive MVPs, he has to like be an MVP hitter again and an MVP pitcher, because part of what was so crazy last year was like, we've never seen this before. Mm-hmm. So I mean, Shohei is definitely putting up another MVP caliber year, and it's kind of going under the radar, a little underappreciated. But I mean, we know his swing. He's fast. He can throw hard. He's got dirty stuff as well. So I mean, and we saw that all on display this month. So I stick by Shohei as my AL Player of the Month. And for AL Pitcher of the Month, it's one of those guys you mentioned. I had to go Dylan Cease. He had one less start than Verlander and some of the other guys, but I think the stats that Cease put up in the one less start are just too good to ignore. He had a .33 ERA in, I believe, what was 5 starts, while some other people had 6, with a 1.1 WAR and a 14 Ks per 9. So that's ridiculous. I mean, he had an amazing month. We know what he can do, and I think for the White Sox to get back to where we think they could be and where we kind of expected them to be, Cease has to continue to do this, and Giolito, Lance Lynn, the other pitching staff has to come pick it up, and as well as the offense. So I think Cease is a big part of the White Sox. I believe they gained some ground this month. They're still only a few games back in that division, and I think Cease is a big reason why. And if they want to win this division or make a playoff push, he's going to be a big reason why.
Yeah, he had that huge 3-game stretch between Detroit, Toronto, and then Baltimore. And even that Dodgers start too, there were a lot of unearned runs against him. It could have been even better had he had better defense behind him, but he went 8 Ks, 8 Ks, 11 Ks, and then 13 Ks in 7 innings against the Orioles. He was fantastic. Like I mentioned, I don't fault you for putting him at all. I needed to find a way to get Shohei in there. Cease probably would have been my pick had I not gone Shohei. Justin Verlander was up there as well, but having a .3 ERA in a month, he also pitched yesterday against the Giants and pitched well, and he strikes out guys at an unbelievable clip. I remember he had that one start against the Yankees where he was not good, but he struck out like more than 10 guys in like 4 innings. And like pretty much all of his outs were via the strikeout. Nasty stuff, the high fastball, and then mixing in that just dropper of a curveball. It's disgusting. He's on my fantasy team, so I'm happy to have it, especially that starting against the Orioles was like 36 points or something like that. He's been great. Hopefully he keeps it up for the month of July. And I think that this stretch earned him a spot on the All-Star team. We did those, and I think I had him as a just missing guy, but it's hard to leave him off with how good he's been recently.
Yeah, he's been great. And another pitcher who's been great this month in the NL, I had to go Carlos Rodon. It was tough to pick him against some other guys who I know you picked, but he had 6 starts, same as everyone. He went 36 innings pitched, so average around 6 innings per start. 10.25 Ks per 9, the 1.25 ERA. The Ks in the ERA is kind of what 1.25 is amazing with a 1.5 WAR. So I mean, there were some other great options here, but I think Rodon kind of earned it even with the less innings pitched. I think the ERA, I don't know. It's hard for me to pick off of like innings pitched in a start, just because like okay you pitched more, but I mean it wasn't as good in the innings. So I don't know. It's a very close between the other guys is what I'm trying to say. But Rodon had a great month.
I think what you're alluding to is my National League Pitcher of the Month.
I didn't want to spoil.
I went Sandy Alcantara, and I know what you're saying. The innings pitched, it's hard to make that the decider. But in certain scenarios, when you average almost 8 innings a start in a month, he had 47 2/3 innings across 6 starts. So that is literally just 1/3 of an inning away from averaging 8 innings a start across an entire month. 6 starts at a 1.89 ERA, pitching almost 8 innings every time he went out there. It is like, even though he didn't have the Ks per 9 that Carlos Rodon had, and believe me, I wanted to go Carlos Rodon with every fiber of my being, but I couldn't do it to a Marlins pitcher again after I gave it to him over Pablo Lopez in the first month, especially when, Sandy was just so valuable for the Marlins this month. A 6.42 Ks per nine, but throwing almost 8 innings every time you go out there, accruing a 1.4 WAR, giving your team eight solid innings, relief from the bullpen every time you go out there. And he didn't have a bad start the entire month. I know Rodon didn't either, but there's just something to be said about that sheer volume in a month. It's not, I don't want it to be the deciding factor every time, but in certain scenarios like this where it's just, that unbelievable, throwing almost 8 innings each time you go on the hill, I just had to go Alcantara. Even though there were maybe some of those peripheral stats that would lead me to go Rodon normally, just 8 innings a start, I couldn't get over it, and I still haven't.
Yeah, like I said, terrific month from him. He's our All-Star Game starter for the NL. Although, I don't know, I'm kind of hoping it's Tony Gonsolin. He put up a 8-inning start himself the other day, but I think Sandy deserves it, and I think he will get it. But Rodon's kind of been the only kind of solid piece or not the only solid piece, but like a solid piece in a struggling Giants team. I know you obviously know about that. What thoughts on the Giants real quick?
I'm not at liberty to give my thoughts because I would like to keep my optimism and my sanity. But yeah, they had two pitchers in the top 5 in ERA this month in Logan Webb and Carlos Rodon, and yet they went 500 in the month. They've lost 9 of their last 12. They're just not very good. They're not playing very well right now. We'll need to see them turn it around in the second half, maybe make a trade or two at the trade deadline. They're still, I think, like right close to that playoff picture, but not performing at the level that they were last year. Even though they've been good at times, they're in their worst stretch of the season so far, so I'm trying not to judge too much on that. But I'm glad that you went with the Giant for a monthly award. No Dodgers in there this month.
No, but I don't care about the monthly awards. Dodgers now have the best record in the NL. The Giants, 2 games back of the wild card, but it's 8.5 now of the division. The bet at the beginning of the season, I don't know if you remember that we had, but it started to look a little better for me. I was upset at the amount of games I gave you at the beginning. I believe it was like 10.5 or something like that. I've got it written down.
Well, and then we've got the head-to-head games as well, which I think Giants are leading the head-to-head series right now 3-2. So
yeah. So second half is going to be big for all of those, and then Giants are struggling, but hopefully they don't turn it around.
They play better against the NL West, and when it really counts, they haven't been able to beat up on bad competition right now. Like they played the Reds, they lost 2 of 3. They only won 2 of 6 games they played against the Reds this year. They split 2-game series between them and the Tigers. They've lost the first 2 to the White Sox, who have kind of been exposed by everyone else. Just not in the right place right now, but they have dealt with injuries. We'll see. Let's get to rookies of the month, because this is something that's more exciting than the Giants' losses, at least to me. Let's go start with the NL. It was Michael Harris, and I think this was pretty obvious because I was considering him for NL Player of the Month, and I was honestly much to my surprise. I didn't really know much about Michael Harris coming into the month, but he blew up 1.6 WAR, which was 4th in the National League, not among rookies, but among hitters in general. He had 347 with a 574 slug, 4 stolen bases, played amazing defense. I know we have the same pick, so I'm not going to steal some of the other stats from you, but Michael Harris was great for a Braves team that was maybe one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the month of June.
Yeah, Giants were struggling a little bit, but the Braves, they were surging. Now they're competing with the Mets for that NL East now, and you mentioned most of those stats with 159 WRC plus as well. Got to see it. It obviously wasn't the main story in the Dodgers-Braves series, but I got to focus on it. Michael Harris, he puts the ball in play. Slugging's not there for him, but it doesn't matter to me. Still putting up a 347 batting average in the month.
Well, 574 slugging is still pretty damn good.
It's good, but then the amazing defense is what stood out to me. He's very fast, and there was a ball hit into the gap that I thought for sure was extra bases, and he ran it down kind of with ease. And so he's very fast. It's valuable on the outfield as well as on the bases, the 4 stolen bases. Michael Harris, they were talking about him a little, but I guess their player development was very high on him. They wanted him to bring it. They wanted to bring him up, and rightfully so. He's been great for the Braves and a key X factor in their little push that they're making to challenge the Mets right now.
Well, yeah, everyone on the Braves was saying, okay, Christian Pache is going to be that next outfielder, and then Michael Harris comes up and he's like, Christian Pache who? They traded away Pache before the season, and Michael Harris comes up, plays the same level of defense, and is hitting like one of the better hitters in the entire National League in the month. So I think that's got to be a good surprise for the Atlanta Braves, and just another piece of that crazy offense. So they had Matt Olson already. We've talked about Ronald Acuna Jr., he's a stud, Austin Riley, and they're getting contributions now from Michael Harris, is one of the best players in the National League. Dansby Swanson is living up to his prospect billing coming out of the draft. Travis d'Arnaud's hitting baseballs, almost an all-star, as well as on top of all that pitching. Like, the Braves are legit, and it's going to be a good season in the NL East. That's what I'll say. Yeah,
it's definitely going to be a dogfight. Another outfielder rookie, obviously. We're going into our AL Rookie of the Month. Another outfielder, Julio Rodriguez. This is a guy who, on the flip side of Michael Harris, this is a guy we heard a lot about coming into the season. And he's lived up to the hype, especially this month. He hit 280 this month, 361 on base, with a 542 slugging, and a 162 WRC+. Plus. He had a great month. He's hitting for more power. I think I saw he's the only, other than Mike Trout, who's obviously we know he was Rookie of the Year, and we know who he is now.
He's okay.
He's the only rookie to put up 10 home runs and 20 stolen bases before the All-Star break, and we still have 2 weeks until the All-Star break. So, I mean, Julio Rodriguez, he's putting up a great season, and I think he's probably mine, probably yours, front runner for Rookie of the Year so far.
Yeah, he's the first rookie to have consecutive months with 5 home runs and 5 stolen bases. He's been legit. We were talking about Ronald Acuna Jr. We might have Ronald Acuna Jr. 2.0 in Julio Rodriguez. Not saying he's going to be better or anything like that, but he reminds me so much of Ronnie. Like you mentioned, all of those stats and just the way he plays the game. He's had so much energy for the Mariners. He's probably like almost the leader of that team already. He could arguably be the best player on Seattle's roster this year. And being so dangerous with the power and then also with the legs is something that we've seen from Acuna all throughout his career so far. And J-Rod's coming in his rookie season and proving he can do the exact same. This is a guy preseason I predicted has MVPs in his future. It's probably not going to happen this year, but rolling around in the next couple of years, this dude is going to be a problem.
Yeah, this is a guy for a Mariners team who's also hasn't lived up to expectations this year. But Julio Rodriguez has, like we mentioned. But yeah, he's going to be a problem in the future. He's exciting to watch, which is great for this young Mariners team. Gives them a star that they need. And I think the future is still bright in Seattle, and especially for Julio Rodriguez. I think he's going to be a force in the AL West for a long time. And maybe even like the next big star in the AL West. We've got quite a few between the Astros and the Angels and the Rangers now after they made some splashes. Not so much the A's, but
damn, no respect to Frankie Montas and Ramon Laureano.
I wouldn't consider them big stars like some of the other guys, like Bregman, Altuve, Trout.
But Elvis Andrus with a couple more good seasons is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Oh,
right?
Of course, yeah. That's what our TikTok comments say. So I mean, Julio Rodriguez, next big star, great month.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. Absolutely the front runner for Rookie of the Year. The NL is still up in the air. We've had a different NL Rookie of the Month, I think, each month. And I think same thing in the American League. There are definitely people, though, that are going to keep gunning for the award. I wanted to give some shout out to Adley Rutschman, who's been killing it for the Baltimore Orioles. I would not be surprised if he's right up there with J-Rod, possibly even Bobby Witt Jr., who's been picking it up lately. The American League has a lot of talented rookies, and the NL is coming on strong a little bit as well. Let's get into surprises of the month. And for me, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Pirates home run power. I don't know if you saw this, but 3 different players had 3 home run games in just the month of June for the Pirates. The first time that's happened in MLB history. Obviously, the first time it's happened for the Pirates. And here are the names. I mean, you have Brian Reynolds. He had one of them. But then Jack Sawinski and Michael Perez had the other 2. And the Pirates finished only 1 home run short of their single-month franchise home run record. They had 44. Their franchise record is 45. Not something I was expecting from a Pirates squad who's one of the worst teams in the league. I think people would commonly say they had a powerful month, and then setting that MLB record, maybe that's a sign of things to come for the Pirates.
Yeah, we talked about O'Neal Cruz a lot, and he's starting to show a little bit more power. I think he's got 3 home runs now. They're all missiles. But yeah, the surprise isn't the Pirates. It's the Pirates' power. And I mean, the power has been great. I went a different route. I went Dansby Swanson. It was tough for the NL because I don't know if Dansby playing well is necessarily a surprise, but I think the surprise is playing as well as he did. He was probably top 2 or 3 behind Josh Bell to be the player of the month in the NL. So he hit .330 with a 163 WRC plus. He had a great month, and he's shown some more power. Made a few adjustments to his swing to kind of show that power and get on base more in a contract year, which is big for him. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see a contract like for a guy like that who's kind of, he's been good. I'd say an above average shortstop so far, but he hasn't been a superstar like the shortstops we saw be free agents last offseason. So it'd be interesting to see the kind of contract he gets, whether it's low value for long term, or if he goes kind of a prove it, say like I can still do this. So it'll be interesting to see what he does, but I think he definitely has this potential to do that. As we saw, he was another highly ranked prospect coming in. He was the first overall pick out of Vanderbilt. So, I mean, we know what he can do. It's just if he can put it together, and we've seen flashes, and this is another great month putting it together. And he's also on our All-Star team as well. It'll be his first All-Star selection. Maybe a sign of things to come for Dansby.
Yeah, it's probably not a surprise about how well he's been playing this month, because I think we were surprised the first couple of months. This is just what he's been doing. But you're right, it was hard in the National League. I think it's mostly just a surprise in general how well he's played this year, considering he hasn't had much major league success so far for the Braves. But no, he's been legit this year, and he could be an interesting free agent this year, because who knows if the Braves can afford to give him what he wants, considering we mentioned just how much talent they have and money invested in players in Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr. and Matt Olson. They're going to have to pay Austin Riley. I mean, Michael Harris is a rookie playing well. Max Fried is still on arbitration. Like, can they afford to pay Dansby? We'll see. He could be a hot commodity on the free agent market. A team that I think would be a really good fit comes in as my AL surprise of the month. That's the Baltimore Orioles. Before we get to the possibility of them adding this offseason, they had their first winning month since 2017. Like, that is, first of all, when I heard that, I was like, really, they have not had a winning month since in that long. But they had a winning month. They have, honestly, a pretty respectable record right now. 35-43 for the Baltimore Orioles in that murderer's row of a division. That's pretty good, especially where we see some of the other bad teams in the league. They're only 6.5 games back, I think, of the Rays, which is smaller than the amount between the Giants and the Dodgers right now. Like, that's respectable from the Orioles. They've had Ryan Mountcastle, Austin Hayes, Jorge Lopez being key contributors. I mentioned Adley's turning it on. Hopefully this is a sign for them that the rebuild is on track, but they're absolutely my surprise of the month. And could they possibly be a good team this year or next year?
I don't think so. I think just in general, they are a better team this year and will be for the next 2 or 3 years than their record will say. Because, I mean, the other 4 teams in their division are probably 4, if not playoff teams, 4 playoff contenders for sure. And it's tough when you have to play each of them 19 times a year. That's almost half of your games against playoff contention teams just in your division, not outside of it. So you'll end up playing more than half your games against contending teams. So I think they are a good team, and a good team, whatever you want that to mean in quotes. But I think they are better than what the record shows, and the record is, like you said, respectable this year. So I don't know what good team consists of for this Orioles team. I think they will definitely start to compete in games, but in terms of playoff contention, I think they're a few years away. Interesting to see what some of these teams do. Red Sox, JD's getting old. Bogarts and Devers could be on the move. Bogarts maybe for sure, kind of looking that way. Devers maybe, but I mean, it's tough to tell with them. The Rays, feel like they're always going to be the Rays. They got some bright pitching future at least with Wander as well. And then the Blue Jays seem young. So it's tough to tell when a good team record-wise will come out of Baltimore in this future, because they do have a bright future. They've got some talent, young talent. You mentioned Adley. what's Rodriguez? What's his first name? I'm blanking. Grayson Rodriguez, pitching prospect. He's a top 3 prospect in the MLB. So I think, yeah, it's hard to tell what good looks like for this Orioles team in the future and what the timeline is with their division. But I think they'll be a competing team in these next few years. Can they? What's your definition of good team, and can the Orioles be it?
I mean, I think that, first of all, they've shown that they have the potential to be an average team. They were an average team in the month, and I think for Orioles fans, that's just about as much as you can ask right now. But you get Adley a second year. You keep developing some of the young talent that they have that maybe aren't household names right now, but could be some pretty good players in Austin Hayes, Ryan Mountcastle, and then you bring up some of those pitching prospects in Grayson Rodriguez. Maybe they get John Means back next year. You've got Jorge Lopez, who, though he's put up negative 22 points this week for my fantasy team after I picked him up for 2 appearances, he's been an all-star closer so far this year. And then you start looking out in free agency. They have the money. Will they spend it? I think Dansby, for a guy who won't get the same big extension or big contract that Javier Baez got or Wander Franco got or Corey Seager got, could be a value pick for a team like Baltimore, give them a power hitter at shortstop. Maybe they look to other positions, but I think that they can turn out a 500 or above team within the next 2 years. I mean, it seems unlikely because we've seen the Orioles be bad for so long, but you just have to look back to the Manny Machado days in those games against the Jose Bautista Blue Jays. They were a playoff team, and if they're willing to spend, which I think they'll have to do a little bit in free agency to make it work, I think they can put out a 500 caliber team within 2 or 3 years.
A team within that division that was another surprise to me is the Yankees. I mean, it sounds crazy to say that the Yankees were a surprise after what they've done so far, but this was a surprise to me. I expected the Yankees to kind of come down to earth by now, and they have not. The Red Sox put up an incredible month. I don't remember the exact records, but Red Sox put an incredible month, and they only gained half a game in the division because the Yankees have been so good. And I think, like I said, I expected them to kind of regress a little bit by now. Not saying I expect them to have a bad month, but them continuing to be on pace for over 116 games, which we saw the 2001 Mariners put up, I think is ridiculous. And at this point of the year, I mean, they're the real deal, and they're starting to scare me in terms of Dodger fandom as a threat, a legitimate threat. Because I was thinking about it, what's different about this Yankees team? They added Kiner Falefa, who's been an upgrade at defensively, but not the bat wise. Donaldson's been okay. They a full season of Rizzo, who's producing, but I mean, in terms of personnel, this is a very similar team to the previous years where we thought they'd kind of run the AL and they've been a playoff team but have failed to live up to expectations. So it was just hard for me to believe that the Yankees are the real, at least this pace is the real deal. So it's been a surprise to me that they're still keeping this up.
Yeah, especially when, they've got guys that are just not playing well. Joey Gallo has been terrible this year, but they've gotten good contributions from Anthony Rizzo. DJ LeMahieu isn't, that MVP contender self that he was 2 years ago, but Gleyber Torres and him are playing at an above-average level, hitting the ball well. You obviously have Aaron Judge. He's been fantastic. What more can we say that we haven't said about him already this year? And then it's the pitching. I think the pitching has been the main difference. They've got a bullpen they can rely on, and it's more than just Aroldis Chapman. It's Clay Holmes and Michael King have been the 2 big pieces. They could very easily both be all-stars. And then, though some of the guys have started to struggle a little bit more recently, their starting pitching has been lights out. Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, Jameson Taillon, Jordan Montgomery, and pretty much anyone they throw out there for a start has been fantastic. I think they were 22-6 in the month, so I think even for anyone, that's got to be a big surprise because that is an insane month of baseball. And they had a big 6-game set across a couple of weeks against Houston Astros. 3 of those losses of the 6 came against the Astros, so that means they only lost 3 games to any other team in the entire month. They're the clear front runners for the World Series right now. There's a chance they have 70 wins by the All-Star break. What more can we say about the Yankees?
Yeah, they had kind of this prove-it stretch where they had 2 series against the Astros, 2 series against the Rays, a series against the Blue Jays, where it's kind of all right, we're going to find out, is this team kind of the real deal? I think they only lost 2 or 3 games in that stretch. So, wow. 22-6 in a month where you have that schedule of 2. We're not talking about they're playing the Orioles a bunch of times in the month. We're good this month, like we said. But, Yankees, very surprising to me that they're still able to keep this pace up. And like we said, yeah, World Series contenders for sure, this Yankees team. It's been a while since we've legitimately said that.
And said it confidently.
Said it confidently, yeah. So, Yankees still, big surprise to me that they're able to keep this up.
One thing that our 2 surprises had in common, there were 2 bullpens in the month of June with a sub-3 ERA. The Yankees bullpen had a 2.00 ERA, and the Baltimore Orioles, surprisingly, a 2.89. So it's a nice little common thread between the 2 teams that have surprised us in the American League so far.
Yeah, bullpen underappreciated, but when you have a good bullpen, it can really lock stuff down. And a good starter can get you on your way to a win. But if you don't have a good bullpen, it's underappreciated, but it's very valuable to a win. And when you have good bullpens, obviously you put together good months like we saw. Yeah, 2 teams, 2 surprises in the AL East. And the AL East we know is a fun division to watch.
Let's hope the Phillies listen to that last part. Maybe start building out the bullpen. With some good arms a little bit.
Defense and bullpen Phillies.
Yeah, come on now. Do you want to start and introduce some of the series locks advantages that we're going to implement in July? We're not going to give you our full picks yet because we're Sunday when we're recording this, so we're still waiting on our last week to conclude. But we wanted to introduce each month as we keep rolling through series locks a couple more advantages. I used the block a couple weeks ago, but we've got a couple more ideas, and we're going to roll them out kind of month by month. And there's a couple that we wanted to implement this month if you want to introduce them.
Yeah, so if you guys follow us, you probably know by now what Series Locks is every week we pick 1 to 5 series each that we think are locks. Like whether it's I think this week was Yankees A's, or I don't know.
Yeah, it was Yankees A's.
It was this week. Okay, so yeah, we had Yankees A's, and we were like, okay, the Yankees are for sure going to win this series. We both picked them. 1 point for a series win, 2 points if it's a sweep, and 1 point for a loss, and a sweep against, a -2 for a sweep against. And then we do 1 to 5 each week, and we pick or we keep track of our points. Jack's leading by a couple right now. Still some more series to conclude, but like he mentioned, he had the block, which he got from a head-to-head punishment, where if you go under 500 in a week, you get punished. And so we both went under 500 one week, so we had a head-to-head punishment, and we decided that's where blocks are going to come from. He won. We did TikTok dances. He won the punishment, so he got his block. He used it now, not this past week, but 2 weeks ago. It was Cardinals Cubs. We both picked it. He's like, no, you can't pick that. He blocks me from picking Cardinals Cubs, and he gets the Cubs win. So he incorrectly used it, sort of. At least maybe not incorrectly strategy wise, but it came back to bite him. So that's our first block advantage, which is a block, which you get from a head-to-head punishment. The next advantage-ish that we're introducing is double down. So every month you get 1 pick where you can say double down on, and like a Yankees A's could have been a good one to double down on, where you're thinking, okay, yep, this one is for sure the Yankees are going to win, and you get double points. Either way that it goes, it can either be a sweep gets you 4, or if they lose the series, like a sweep against, it'd be -4. Obviously a win is 2 instead of 1, and a loss is -2 instead of -1. So it's a double down. It works both ways. So there is some risk involved in it if your team gets upset, but it's used for a pick that you're super confident. That's not really an advantage that you earn, but one that we get every month. One that you can earn is an extra vote for the following week. We're going to say that's if you get over 5 points in a week, which Jack has a chance of doing this week, and get an extra point for next week, just means you can do 6 instead of 5. We've set the cap at 5 per week, so it doesn't get like ridiculous late in the year where I say like if I'm down and I need some points, I can't just say like all of them. I'm picking all of the home teams, just for example, to get a bunch of points. So we set the cap at 5, but if you get over 5 points in a week, then you can get a 6 vote for the following week. And we've got some more ideas brewing for following months and following seasons, which will be next year and so on. And if you like those, have any more ideas for an advantage, let us know. We're always open to ideas. If you have any ideas of how to get an advantage, we're open to that as well. I mean, this is something we're excited about, advantages-wise. It's kind of our version of Survivor a little bit. Like, advantage-wise, you can ways to get some extra points and spice it up just so it's not just picking baseball every week. We've got some fun and fun spiced into it. So, I mean, those are all advantages that we're introducing this month, and we're excited for it.
Let me add some chaos into the whole realm of series locks. I think it's kind of impressive we haven't had a punishment in a while.
Yeah, now that you say that,
exactly.
Here comes my punishment this week. I still have a chance for one.
Go,
but yeah,
is it Pirates? Is it the Pirates I need to win today? To get a punishment?
I don't know if that'll lock it. It might need a couple things to go wrong for me.
Fingers crossed.
Actually, yeah, if the Pirates win, I'll go 2 for 3 on the week. So yeah, if the Pirates win today, we could be looking at a punishment.
What time's that game?
Let's take a look real quick. Intermission here.
Oh, here we go. That's it. It's the top of the second right now.
Oh no.
Tied 0-0.
Tied 0. First and third for the Brewers with 2 outs. So I mean, yeah, Brewers over Pirates seems like a lock, right? But I mean, this is baseball, so I mean, that's what we love about series locks. I mean, not everything. I mean, it's baseball, so not everything is a lock. As it stands right now, I've picked 61% of my picks correct, and Jack has 64% of his picks correct. So I mean, I think above 60% is still great for baseball picking locks.
Yeah.
We call them locks, but really it's baseball.
You try your best, but there's really no such thing as a lock in baseball.
Yeah, anything can happen. So I mean, we love series locks. I mean, we post them every week now on our social media, Instagram, Twitter sometimes, TikTok sometimes. But make sure you go follow all of them. You won't want to miss it. Sometimes we have the series locks on the show, especially if a big advantage is coming. It'll usually, or a punishment will usually be on the show. I think our last punishment was Jack having to wear Dodgers uniform or Dodgers jersey and a hat for an episode. So that was exciting. And before that, I mean, it was the TikTok punishment, I believe, the dual punishment.
Yep.
So I think I've had 3 punishments. Or no, we're 2 and 2. 2 and 2. 2 and 2. So I had the first punishment where I had to wrap my picks. That was fun but embarrassing and bad.
I'm contemplating putting that back up as the pinned tweet on our Twitter.
Yes. So I mean, it's a fun time picking some locks, and whether they're truly locks or not, we don't know. It's what we think. So I mean, above 60%, I think is solid though, and hopefully I'm rooting for a Pirates win.
No, you're rooting for a
Brewers win. No.
Yes, go Pirates. We need Zach Thompson to clutch up right here with first and third. He's behind in the count 2-1 to the Jace Peterson. I don't know. It's a tough one though. Locks are hard. I will give you credit for that, but I want there to be another punishment so I can come up with a very good creative idea.
I obviously don't want there to be a punishment. However, if you have any ideas for punishments, let us know. Whether you're on YouTube right now or in the comments, or if you're on the podcast, go to any of our socials, which are in the description, and let us know in the comments or DMs. Like, just say I have an idea for a punishment. We will always interact with you and listen because we love. I mean, punishments are fun for the other person at least.
Yes.
but they're all fun and games. There's nothing too bad. But yeah, like I said, go follow our socials. Let us know. Team of the month. It will be on our Instagram as well. But for awards, let us know. Who did we miss? Did we snub anyone? Or what do you think about these guys who were just amazing this month? And let's see. I think that means. Oh wow! Caught stealing home in the Pirates game.
They had the little dot on ESPN moving towards home, and I thought he actually stole home, or like a wild pitch or something like that. But Colton Wong thrown out at the plate.
Wow, that's an interruption to the outro. That sucks for me. But yeah, go follow our socials. Let us know what you thought about this episode. And can these guys be all-stars? We did an all-star episode last week, like we mentioned. So go watch that. Go watch any of our old videos. Go follow the socials. You know the deal. And we've been the Double Play Podcast. Thank you guys for listening.